Hello everyone, welcome to our School at Home class in English grade 10. We are now in the third quarter of our set of lessons and I hope everybody will be delighted in learning today with lesson number 6. Lesson number 6 covers The Last Leaf by O. Henry, a reader response approach. Lessons objectives. Letter A. Comprehend the story by answering the provided activities. Letter B. Give emphasis to the values demonstrated by the characters. And letter C. Relate the values of the story to the present situation. Please thumbs up if the statement is true and thumbs down if the statement is false. Number 1. The pen name of William Sidney Portal is Ohio Henry. The correct answer is false. It is O. Henry. Number 2. Mr. Berman's masterpiece enabled Miss Johnsy to realize the significance of faith in life. The correct answer is true. Number 3. The analogy of the death of mind happened in the life of Mr. Berman. The correct answer is true. Number 4. Mr. Berman's masterpiece, which he worked hard in his lifetime, has emerged right after his death. The correct answer is true. And number 5. The extreme coldness during the winter season in November had caused Johnson's illness. The correct answer is true. In our previous lessons, we discussed different approaches to critique and understand literary selections such as moralist, Marxist, feminist, and historical. Let us start our main discussion for today with this quotation. He who has health has hope, and he who has hope has everything, by Thomas Carlyle. Let us now discuss the most popular approach used to critique and easily understand a literary selection known as reader response approach. Reader response suggests that the role of a reader is essential to the meaning of a text, for only in the reading experience does the literary work come alive. Its purpose is to examine, explain, and defend your personal reaction to a text. There is no right or wrong answer to a reading response. Nonetheless, it is important that you demonstrate an understanding of the reading and clearly explain and support your reaction. Last meeting, I asked you to read in advance the story of The Last Leaf by O. Henry. For better understanding, I have here the summarized version of the story. The story takes place in Greenwich Village, a bohemian neighborhood in New York City, sometime in the early 20th century. The story centers on Sue and Johnsy, two young women artists who share a studio at the top of a rundown apartment building. When winter comes, Johnsy becomes grievously ill with a case of pneumonia. The doctor who visits them predicts that Johnsy won't have much chance of survival if she doesn't find the will to live, since his medicines have little effect on the patient who has decided that she's going to die. When the doctor asks if Johnsy is depressed about something in particular, Sue mentions Johnsy's unfulfilled ambition to paint the Bay of Naples, but the doctor is dismissive and asks if Johnsy is troubled over a man. An increasingly fatalistic Johnsy becomes obsessed with the leaves falling from a vine outside her window. After the last leaf falls, she tells Sue she will die. Sue works on an illustration for a magazine which she plans to sell to buy more food for Johnsy, and tries unsuccessfully to convince Johnsy that she has something to live for. Sue goes to visit their downstairs neighbor, Vermon, an old unsuccessful artist who, after decades of failure, still hopes to paint his masterpiece. When he hears about Johnsy's illness and her obsession with the leaves outside her window, he is initially contemptuous of the idea that leaves could have anything to do with Johnsy's health. Ultimately, however, Vermon stays out all night in a violent storm to paint a realistic-looking leaf onto the wall outside Sue and Johnsy's window. Seeing that the last leaf, which is, in fact, Vermon's painting, has seemingly survived the storm 2 nights in a row, Johnsy takes hope and begins to recover. However, Vermon catches pneumonia from exposure to the rain and cold and dies a few days later. When Sue tells Johnsy this, she remarks that Vermon had finally painted his masterpiece. Now let's move on with the facts and details. Number 1. How was pneumonia described in the story? Answer: it was an unseen stranger who attacks the people in Greenwich Village in New York City. Number 2. What was the significance of the ivy leaves? Answer: in the story, the ivy leaves were significant because, for Johnsy, they served as a measure of her time on Earth. Number 3. How did Mr. Vermon save Johnson's life? Answer: when he saw that the last leaf fell off the ivy vine, he braved the cold rain and snow to paint a replacement leaf on the vine. Number 4. Why did Mr. Vermon die in the story? Answer: he died because of pneumonia brought about by his selfless action. They found him in his room, helpless with pain and fever, his shoes completely wet and icy cold. And number 5. How was the last leaf a story of hope, friendship, and love? Answer: it was a story of hope, love, and friendship because Sue and Mr. Vermon did not give up on restoring Johnsy's will to live. Instead, they offered their loving efforts to help Johnsy regain her health, and Mr. Vermon even sacrificed his life for Johnsy. To wrap everything up that we have discussed in this lesson, let's work on this activity by choosing the letter of the correct answer. Number 1. What disease does Johnsy have? Letter A. Autism. B. Cancer. Letter C. Pneumonia. And letter D. Antisocial. The correct answer is letter C. Pneumonia. Number 2. They live in blank. Letter A, Greenwich Village. Letter B, Ideal Village. Letter C, Village of Miami. And letter D, the New York Village. The correct answer is letter A, Greenwich Village. Number 3. What is the difference between Chauncey and Sue? Letter A. Chauncey is a dreamer, while Sue is a workaholic. Letter B. Chauncey is a workaholic, while Sue is a dreamer. Letter C. Chauncey is ugly, while Sue is pretty. And letter D. Chauncey is a boy, while Sue is a girl. The correct answer is letter A. Chauncey is a dreamer, while Sue is a workaholic. Number 4. What did Chauncey wish to paint? Letter A. The Bay of Naples. Letter B. The Last Leaf. Letter C. A romantic sunset. And letter D. The Mediterranean. The correct answer is letter A. The Bay of Naples. 5. After the doctor's visit with Chauncey, what course of treatment did he suggest? Letter A. He recommended strict bed rest. Letter B. He recommended sitting outside next to the trees. Letter C. He recommended that she take an interest in the man or in the new winter fashions. And letter D. He recommended that she enter hospice care. The correct answer is letter C. He recommended that she take an interest in the man or in the new winter fashions. Always remember to value the people who sacrificed their something for you, because maybe that something was their everything. Now, in view of this, draw something which you can associate to your interpretation with this quotation. After viewing and listening to this video lesson, always keep in mind that faith and determination will always keep our thoughts in life